On August 17th, 2024, real estate is going to change forever. I need you to pay attention because whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, or even a real estate agent, you need to understand exactly what's going on here. There's some crazy opinions out there and a lot of misinformation, so this is a very important video. Make sure you stay until the end because we're going to discuss the 5 cities with the top 5 realtor commissions and the bottom 5 realtor commissions. But first, I need you to hit that subscribe button. If you want to get better at real estate investing, you have to follow this channel. Also, if investment properties where you live have become too expensive, go to the pinned comment of this video. I have a free training that's going to show you how to invest out of state.
It was like David versus Goliath, and David won.
Mortgage advisor William Gomez walked me through how a lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors is about to turn the real estate world on its head.
A lot of people that don't really know and aren't in the business, they think that this is going to help sellers and this is going to help buyers. And this is going to lower price. I disagree with all 3 of them.
The first change is an agent will no longer be able to show a home to a buyer without a signed buyer's agreement. 2, an agent will no longer know if a seller is offering them compensation, which leads directly into the 3rd change. It's no longer solely the seller's obligation to pay for the buyer's agent.
So he said he doesn't think this is going to help buyers or sellers. So we need to unpack this a little bit. Going forward, buyers will need to sign an agreement with their real estate agent that'll basically outline the services that the buyer will receive and how much they're going to cost. Personally, I believe this helps buyers and agents because it makes it crystal clear what the expectations are from the very beginning, so there's no miscommunication. Now, the obvious downside is that sellers don't have to offer compensation to the buyer's agent, and that cost now has to come out of the buyer's pocket, which is going to increase their out-of-pocket cost when they're buying a home. For example, if a buyer is purchasing a home for $500,000 and is putting 10% down, that would be $50,000 plus closing cost. Prior to the settlement, the commission would come from the seller, and in many cases, it was 6%, which in this example would be $30,000 split between each agent. Now, here's the problem. In this example, the home costs $500,000. So now, if the buyer negotiates a 3% commission with the real estate agent, then that's going to add $15,000 to what the buyer has to come up with, bringing their total cost to $65,000 plus closing cost. Let's hear from a few real estate agents about their opinions on what's going to happen starting on August 17th. And I have a feeling that you're going to be surprised with what they share.
Now, if you were to ask a realtor how they feel about the change, you might get mixed reviews.
At the end of the day, it's our job to serve them, to still show them houses. So we're not going to say no. I mean, it's going to impact me and my family because I might not get paid.
Brittany Carnes is a Tulsa realtor. She travels 80 to 100 miles a day, going wherever a buyer calls from. Carnes says she's particularly concerned about her clients having the funds to be able to cover an offer, let alone compensate her.
With us having to say, hey, I don't know if we're getting paid by the seller. We can't ask for that. Would you be able to? A lot of them aren't going to be able to.
So this real estate agent might have a misunderstanding because she mentioned that they may not get paid. But the thing is, before she agrees to represent a particular buyer, she's going to work with them and figure out the compensation that they're going to agree on. So if she does find them a home, she will get paid. I mean, let's be honest. There's no way she's going to work for free. There's no way she's going to guide somebody all the way through the home buying process and not receive a cent. That's not going to happen. Now, here's what I suggest for buyers who are concerned about now having to pay their own agent commission. If a buyer plans to put 5% down on a $500,000 property, that would be $25,000 plus closing costs. Now, one thing I want to make clear, which I don't see a lot of people talking about online, is that when you're buying a home, you actually need a lot more than just your down payment and your closing costs. You have to consider things like your moving expenses to actually move into the place, furniture, and all of these things. You might want to do a few additional things to the property to make it to your liking. The point is, you need a lot more than your down payment and closing costs. I also strongly recommend having at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses saved when you buy a property. This economy right now is very unstable and anything can happen. So it's important for you to have those reserves just in case. Now, if a buyer agrees to a 2% commission on that $500,000 property, that's an additional $10,000 that they have to spend. So that puts them at $35,000 plus closing cost. What I would suggest is looking for properties that are slightly cheaper, or if you find a property that you like, just offer $10,000 or even more under the purchase price to account for the fact that you have to come out of pocket to pay your agent. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. You'll be shocked by what this next real estate agent has to say.
I also spoke to Mae West Harrison, who primarily works in the Midtown area. Harrison is more optimistic. She says she thinks this change is a fairly neutral one.
Honestly, this law is protecting buyers' agents, whereas before, we just worked for whatever the house was paying for. So now, as a buyer's agent, I can have a fee that, that is being paid to me regardless.
Harrison did acknowledge that this may be more challenging for first-time homebuyers to get behind. Although the two agents feel differently about impacts to come, they did share one similar sentiment. The real estate world as we know it will change on August 17th.
When she says that she worked for whatever the house was paying for, I believe she meant that the commission she received will be set by the seller, and it just is what it is. And it sounds like she feels more secure knowing that she will have negotiated a fee, commission up front with the buyer and not have to worry about what the seller is going to offer. Now, I do understand the concern that was mentioned about first-time home buyers not having enough money to pay their real estate agent. But as I mentioned, I strongly recommend having more than just a down payment and closing costs when you're buying a property. So one rule of thumb is that your mortgage for a place where you're going to be living at should be no more than 30% of your income. So let's say, for example, you bring home $10,000 a month. I strongly recommend that your mortgage does not exceed $3,000. You should try your best to stay as close to $3,000 as possible so that you have wiggle room and you're not house rich and cash poor, which unfortunately, especially over the last couple of years, we have a lot of people who are house rich and cash poor. This next clip got straight to the point. I have a feeling that you're going to agree with a lot of the perspective that's shared.
What we've had in the past is people just jumping in the car with a phone call that comes in. Oh, I better dash out to the house. And there's never any explanation of how the system works, where the money comes from, what the agent will do for that client.
While it's normal for a buyer to sign a contract with their realtor before making an offer or closing, the new settlement rules moves that timeline up before the house search.
Employment agreements have been part of the law since the 1990s, so the timing is what's different.
The contract itself can look different, locked in for only a few days or the entire process. It's up to the buyer and their realtor to come up with their own terms. It really centers around transparency.
Interview people. Stop looking at houses first and start interviewing licensees and find someone you trust and you like how they explain things.
The Arizona Department of Real Estate is urging buyers, do your due diligence before signing anything. Discuss what the agent will bring to the table. Look at the costs, cancellation clauses, and time invested.
Because once you sign, you are in a binding contract.
So I've been ghosted by real estate agents before, and you might have had that same experience. I'm also sure that there are real estate agents who've been ghosted by clients. I believe by having that agreement signed up front that both parties should take it more seriously. The other great thing is that expectations and timelines are very clear up front. I'm sure some of you watching in the past, you've had miscommunications with real estate agents. You thought one thing, they thought one thing, and you didn't find out until you're about to close on a property, right? So it's very important to make sure that you're on the same page with your real estate agent from the beginning. I 100% agree with interviewing real estate agents before you start working with them. Here are some questions that you can ask when you're talking to a potential real estate agent. So ask them how many homes have they sold in the past year and how long they've been in the business. You also want to know what their process is to show you homes, to send you listings, etc., based on your criteria. You should also let them know the type of home that you're looking for and your budget. And you should also ask if they know about grants or down payment assistance programs as well. Now, a hack is going online and looking at reviews of this real estate agent. Sometimes you can find it on their Google business listing. Another place is on Zillow, and people can leave reviews on Zillow of their experience working with them. So this will give you a good sense of what people actually think and if people actually value the services that this real estate agent provides. If you have other questions that you like to ask real estate agents, definitely drop them in the comments and I would love to hear from you. I also agree with not looking for homes until you start working with the real estate agent. If you are someone who's not just passively looking and you're actually in the market and you want to buy, it's kind of pointless to go out and do it without meeting with the real estate agent and figuring out what exactly is your game plan to go forward. Now let's discuss the states with the top 5 realtor commission rates and the bottom 5 realtor commission rates. I was honestly surprised by some of the numbers that I saw here, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you think. All right, so the top 5. Although Detroit had one of the highest commission rates, it was on the list of the lowest commissions in dollar value, which makes sense because of the value of homes sold in the region. The average home buyer's agent was paid about $7,000 for every home they helped someone to purchase. Here are the top 5 metros. So in Austin, Texas, it is 2.99%, Cincinnati, Ohio, 2.95%, Nashville, Tennessee, 2.91%, San Antonio, Texas, 2.91%, Detroit, Michigan, 2.87%. The bottom 5, in Anaheim, California, where the red hot real estate market often sees houses going for more than $1 million, a buyer's agent could get $40,000 per purchase. However, these agents were among those who had the lowest commission rate, Redfin said. Here are the bottom 5 metros. Nassau County, New York, 1.95%, Providence, Rhode Island, 2.05%, Anaheim, California, 2.11%, New Brunswick, New Jersey, 2.12%, and Boston, Massachusetts, 2.15%. So I was surprised that I didn't actually see more California cities on this top 5 list. I really would love to see the top 10 to 15 and seeing what those numbers are. Something else I'm curious to see is what this list is going to look like as we get closer to the end of the year, because as we've been talking about, on August 17th is when everything changes and this new way of doing business goes into effect. So I'm curious to see if this list will remain the same or if some new cities will get added onto the list in the next 6 months. Now that you know why real estate is going to change forever, I want you to learn about the hidden cost of mobile and modular homes. Check out this video right here.